everyone to my top 100 games. If you haven't seen the previous 10, which was 100 to 91, definitely go and check that one out. The link will be in the description or somewhere for you to check it out. There's a playlist as well. But today we are here to start things off with 10 games that are better than the previous 10. Number 90 on my list is a I Split You Choose game. Now, I think this is a underrated and potentially underused mechanic, and New York Slice is the game that I think does it really fantastic. Effectively, you are given different pizza slices and you split, or someone splits, so I split and you choose first. And now what that means is, as it goes around the table, people are taking the slices, the grouped up slices of pizza that you have grouped. So you don't want to make one fantastic because the next player is just going to take that. You want to split them evenly, that they're all kind of good, but hopefully leaving you the slice or slices that are going to score you the points. It works well in other games, but I think the whole theming of pizza, it's in like a pizza box, and most people seem to love pizza. They can instantly get on board, and then with the little special boards, which are like the bonus scoring of the different slices of pizza, types of pizza that you're trying to get, it just makes a lot of sense. And like I say, I Split You Choose, I think is underrated because there's something special about splitting things up to make sure that none of them are that good. Everything is equally okay, because otherwise your opponents are going to take all of the good stuff and you're going to be left with a bad thing at the end. Great idea, great concept, New York Slice. Next up at number 89 is a game that I could see going higher if I get it back to the table a little bit more, and the expansion did certainly help this one get back to the table and have a little bit something extra to it. This is Era Medieval Age. It's a roll and write, but not rolling and writing. You're rolling and placing these plastic chunky buildings down, and that's a really cool thing, as you're seeing your normally sort of very flat written board actually grow up and come to life in front of you. Throw in the expansion and you've got waterways, sort of bridges, castles, churches, the whole shebang. It just makes a really cool, visually different thing on the table. I have one quirk that I don't entirely like about it with the base game, which the expansion does kind of fix because it means you can remove it, and that is, one of the options is if you roll too many of these skulls, it's bad for you, but maybe if you roll one more, it's bad for everyone. I kind of like it, kind of don't, because it's got push your luck. I sort of swing back and forth whether I really like it or hate it, probably depending on if it goes against me in the last game of it that I played. But with one of those expansions you can actually shuffle that out, so it's slightly less detrimental because it's water flooding, which is slightly easier to fit around than these massive burnt scorched earth patches. But the visualness that it builds up, the fact that you're storing resources, you're building these buildings that are getting you more dice, it's a great concept and it looks pretty damn epic on the table. That's Era Medieval Age. My number 88 is a game that when it arrives, when you first get it, it's pretty blank, and that is the game Blank. And that's because it's very Uno-ish in terms of the way the game plays. You're trying to play a card on top of a previous one on a pile. If there's a 1, you can play a 1 of any colour. If it's a red, you can play any numbered red, that sort of thing. But there's a few rules in the game, such as if you play a red, maybe it's the first person to touch their nose, or the last person to touch their nose has to draw a card. You're trying to get rid of your cards, and that's kind of okay. It's a relatively okay experience. So why is it this high on my sort of games that I enjoy? Because whoever wins gets to take either a rules card or any of the cards in the deck and add a rule onto it. That could be speak in an accent. That could be you have to touch the floor fastest when a green card is played. Maybe things that reverse the order and so many different things. It means that as you play over time with the same group, that blank game evolves with you and it's no longer blank. It's got doodles on it. It's got rules. It's got card effects. And it just works because it's slowly built up, and it means when you finish the game, the winner feels like they've actually achieved something because they've slightly made every future game different and hopefully better for everyone that plays. That's Blank, a great little card game that can evolve with you. My number 87 is Silver and Gold, a brilliant little flip and write game where you're drawing these Tetris polyomino shapes onto different islands. Now, the way this works and scores is really interesting because there are 4 different difficulties of islands. The smallest ones score the least points, but they have the least spaces to fill in. The hardest naturally have a lot more spaces. That's also maybe more bonus spaces for coins to collect or palm trees that also score points. And there's also then on top of that a bonus. So some cards are, say, green stamped. Now there might be a orange stamped card that gives you a bonus for every green card you'd completed. So all of a sudden I want to complete as many greens as I can because I get so many bonus points if I've also completed this island. And you're trying to sort of just get as many points, and it's really satisfying crossing off the sort of squares of the islands. It's not complicated, it's really easy to explain. You flip a card over, that's the symbol that everyone is drawing. You can't draw that. You can draw a single X somewhere on one of the 2 islands that you're completing at once. You're trying to complete as many islands, you're trying to collect coins and different things, and it's just a simple, very sort of relaxing, easy lunchtime sort of flip and write to play. That's Silver and Gold. Apparently now is the time for flip and write, as my number 86 is Metro X. This is a sort of an underground metro train sort of route game where you're flipping these cards over from a deck and it's going to screw you over. But it's your choices that are screwing you over. So say a 4 comes out the deck. You write a 4 on one of the train windows and cross off that many spaces on its track. Now the next turn, you might put a 3 on one of the others, but then it's hitting that rail that you've already crossed off some. So you're only getting to put 2 X's down, and therefore you've sort of wasted an X. There's some that allow you to skip over routes that you'd already previously done, and you're trying to finish them. You're never going to be able to finish all the routes because you do a wiggly route down the middle that finishes. You score bonus points for that, but that's put a sort of a line between so many of the other lines that you were trying to sort of finish. They wiggle around and really get in each other's way. And everyone loves it when the free parking, free 1 space card comes out, because everyone sort of breathes a sigh of relief of, okay, I don't need to make a hard decision. This is just going to benefit me. Where can I put 1 X, maybe solve a bit of that mixed up route from earlier? It's just a really satisfying game where you lose points for your empty stations, so you never want to, but you want to get those bonuses for finishing routes, which cause you to cut off bits of the board that mean later turns are slightly wasted by, I can't use all of my X's on this because I've cut through it previously. It's got 2 boards in terms of it's got an A and a B side. They work both really well. I think one's slightly easier for brand new players to just see visually. But the fact there's 2 in the box, it's dry whiteboards as well, so it just feels that bit more premium. It's a solid, top quality flip and write, and that is Metro X. My number 85 is a fast, frantic game where the app is shouting at you. You don't technically need the app, but it really does build attention. This is Fuse. Now, let's talk about that app quickly because not everyone likes apps in games. This is basically there just as a countdown. So why is it so good? You could just use a stopwatch because it's got tension building music. It really makes everyone around the table feel like there's a rush, and then you look and it's like, oh, we've still got 5 minutes left. You look again and you're like, oh my god, we've got 20 seconds. And you're trying to roll these dice and then distribute them out neatly so no one has to put any back. You're trying to do these patterns of dice. Someone's trying to maybe stack up a small pyramid of black and red dice. Someone else is, it doesn't matter what colour they are, but they've got to get the numbers in the right order, or they've got to do some kind of addition with the dice, so they need a 3, they've got a 3, they've got plus a 3, so they need a 6 to be rolled to finish that equation sort of thing, and then get rid of that card and they can go on to a next, because you're trying to get through this deck as quick as possible between the players. It's cooperative, fast, fun. It's really good if you want that high tempo, that high energy, that screaming, that rush, that panic around the table, and everyone's working together, so you feel like you've won or lost as the group. You never feel like, oh, you've let us down, because it's normally, yeah, you got screwed by some of the dice. But we're working with you. We're trying to get you those dice and stuff like that. You work together, you win or lose together. It's brilliant. That's Fuse. My number 84 is a 2-player game, helpfully named Sobek 2 Players. Now, I never played the original, and to be fair, now I've played this, I don't think I need to, because this is a fantastic game where you are taking tiles from a market, trying to sort of get sets of different things that are going to score you points based on how many tiles you've got and the little scarab icons on them. There's bonus tiles, but the big twist is all about the corruption. So on your turn, there's an Ankh token in the middle of the board. It faces horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. That's the range, that's the directions you can move it. You can move it as far as you want and take the tile it lands on, but any that it skips over, you take as corruption. And now that means if there's a great tile the other side of the board, you really want it, but is it worth taking the other tiles as corruption? How much corruption does your opponent have? If you've got a lot, your opponent can go, well, it doesn't matter, I can take a few here and still be less than you, because you're going to lose points or not gain points whoever has the most corruption at the end. So it's like, okay, there's a risk here. I could just take lots of corruption, but then my opponent can take it almost freely until they get close to the amount that I've got. You've also got the fact that if you don't choose that really good tile, wherever you move it to, that's going to then change the direction and give a different choice to your opponent. So it could be, I could take that tile, but then I'm going to be offering you fantastic tiles. So I don't want to do that. Maybe then I take the corruption. So many choices, and I really like that then there's bonus tiles of when you sell these sets. Some of them are like, oh, you just get a few extra points, or some are, you can take another turn, or add a scarab to one of your sets, which adds to its multiplier. Many different things, really like it. That is Sobek 2 Players. My number 83 is, I think, my favourite in this series. Like I said in the slight prelude to the list, when it's been a set of games, in this case Deckscape, I've tried to just pick one and not flood the list with sort of a variety of them, if they were to make it. This is the Mystery of El Dorado. I just really liked the theme in this one and the way the puzzles work, and Deckscape as a whole is, I really like them as escape room games, and the reason for that is it's a deck of cards, you don't need an app, you just work your way through it, and you never fully get stuck. If you ever want to, you think you know the answer, you guess, turn the card over, and you're either right or wrong. If you are right, it's fine, you carry on. If you're wrong, you still carry on, but you get an X mark. You just need to note those down, and the more of those, the worse your score is at the end. So the progression is always there. You never really get stuck because you can always give up. But we've found, certainly with the Deckscape series, it's a nice pleasant one where you've had some brain burning moments, but that progression, that constant sort of going through the deck, even if you make a mistake, it just feels like, oh, you're never like, oh, we've just been stuck on this puzzle for like 10 minutes. I'm sort of losing interest and stuff. You're always enjoying it, and the El Dorado sort of theming, the map sort of usage in this one, really liked it. Not going to go into too many details, it's an escape room, don't want to give any hints or spoilers, but Deckscape / Deckscape Mystery in El Dorado, that is my number 83. My number 82 could be another one of those things where I didn't want to put a series of games on, but it's not. This is The Crew Mission Deep Sea, and I think this is by far the better version. This isn't, you could say this is The Crew as a whole, but it's really not, because the sequel, the non-Planet 9 version, the Mission Deep Sea, I think that is just superior. It took pretty much the exact same gameplay of trick-taking cooperatively. Right, I've got this mission, this objective, I need to win a trick with the blue 5. And you're trying to make it so that you win that trick. Your opponents are trying to maybe win the green 2. Someone else has to win exactly 4 tricks. And so you're really balancing it out cooperatively, trying to make sure no one sort of screws each other over or plays the card that they need. You can give very limited information, and it just all works together to be... I really enjoy trick-taking. I still wouldn't play this with someone that's never played a trick-taking game, but if you have, the co-op nature is a fun twist on that, and the Mission Deep Sea just smooths that process. It's much less fiddly about, here are your missions, you're doing it from a deck, huge deck of cards, huge variety as a result. I just prefer the sequel because of that sort of streamlined mission giving, and it kind of takes some of those challenges and just tweaks it, maybe not up to 11, but certainly higher than they were for funness rather than just challengeness. That is The Crew Mission Deep Sea. The last game on this part of the list, my number 81, is a 2-player, yeah, another 2-player small card game. This one is Hanamikoji. There is just something so special about this game where you play it at the start and you're like, there's so few turns, you're playing so few cards, there's so few options. How am I really impacting things all that much based on the cards I've got at the start? The more you play, the more you realise it's all about somewhat getting in your opponent's head, giving them, because again, this is one of those games, not quite I split you choose fully, but there's one of the turns you could say, I'm going to offer you 3 cards, you have to choose one of them and I get the other 2. So there is an I split you choose, so that's a great sort of one turn. But there's little bits in there where it's just these options, and it's like, I'm going to give you these, so I'm giving you some information to base your choice on, and I've got to just try and make it that you choose what I want you to. When I'm giving you an option of 2 sets of cards, you pick the set of cards that I don't care about, that I keep the ones that I want to keep. And it's just a really quick game where you're trying to sort of get the attention of these geishas. If you don't, you do another round, but you're trying to get so many points from the different geishas. It's just a really cool, quick and interesting design. Highly recommend sort of everyone giving it a go. It might not be for everyone, but Hanamikoji is just, there's so few choices, but every choice seems to have lots more about it to make the game work. That's Hanamikoji, my number 91. And that is the end of this part of the list. Like I said, if you hadn't seen the last 10, go and have a look. And at some point there'll be the next 10 as well. So go and check them out. And until next time, have a great day gaming.